This is Haley Solomon with the North Carolina Housing Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning for our housing call. And without further ado, I will turn it over to our Director of Housing Policy, Stephanie Watkins-Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are having a great week so far. We're going to go ahead and kick it off with federal updates. It's a big week, as you all know, that lawmakers in Congress have until Friday, November 17th, to come up with a plan to fund the government in order to avoid a shutdown. Over the weekend, House Speaker Mike Johnson released a proposal for a two-step continuing resolution, or two-tiered continuing resolution, CR, that extends current funding levels into 2024. The first bill would extend funding until January 19th and includes funds for military construction, Veterans Affairs, transportation, housing, and the Energy Department. The second tier of the bill would extend funding for the rest of the government until February 2nd. The House is scheduled to vote on the proposal today. It does not include the deep spending cuts that conservative Republicans were advocating for, and it will need Democratic support to pass. If the bill does pass the House, it's expected to clear the Senate, where both majority and minority leadership have already endorsed the plan. Last week, the House of Representatives voted to reject several harmful amendments to the THUD spending bill for fiscal year 2024. So big thanks to the advocates who mobilized and weighed in with their members of Congress. The funding bill was ultimately pulled from the floor afterwards because there were not enough votes to approve it. The House is hoping to reconsider the bill this week since the Senate has already passed its version, and congressional leaders say they may start meeting behind the scenes to negotiate a final spending bill, similar to what you heard me kind of kick off the federal updates with. Because this is such a big week and things are in flux, we really want to lift up a call to action for you all. Not only would we like you to still reach out to your representatives and communicate the importance of investing in housing and community development and to avoid deep cuts to those programs, but we would also like for you to reach out at us, fill out either our contact form on our website or email us at info@nchousing.org. And we would like for you to share how a shutdown would impact your organization. Whether you have been through a federal shutdown in the past, or you are preparing, or you've been preparing for the last several weeks for what folks continue to call an impending shutdown, we really want to hear your thoughts, and we want to hear about your experiences. So please share those with us. We think it's really important for our elected officials to see how close to home their decisions affect us, right? So again, email us at info@nchousing.org or use our contact form that we'll have linked in the call notes and talk about how a shutdown will impact your organization, or recall a time that your organization experienced a federal shutdown and what that did for you and your ability to do your work. In terms of state updates, a group of large industrial Duke Energy Progress customers have withdrawn their challenge to the Customer Assistance Program, CAP, a new initiative that was supposed to provide low-income customers in North Carolina with monthly assistance on their electric bills. CAP was approved as a 3-year pilot program for the customers of Duke Energy Progress by the North Carolina Utilities Commission in August of 2023 and was set to be implemented as soon as January 1st of 2024. Initially, some of the industrial customers were opposed to being charged $1.70 a month to contribute to the program, but have reached a settlement with advocates for low-income customers and Duke Energy Progress. Just a note that the North Carolina Housing Coalition is a member of the coalition supporting the CAP program. Since rates are going up, we are particularly mindful of this burden that it will place on low-income households. State legislative updates. Durham County District Attorney Satana Zaderi announced that she will run for North Carolina Attorney General in the 2024 election. Satana previously served as the Executive Director of the North Carolina Housing Coalition prior to being elected as District Attorney in 2018. Moving on to local community updates, just a few to list up for you this week. Moore County is accepting bids for the rehabilitation of 3 housing units in need of repair as part of their 2022 urgent repair program funded by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Contractor applications and bid packages are going to be due by 4:30 p.m. next Tuesday, November 21st. And moving to Charlotte, the Charlotte Office of the Local Initiative Support Corporation, or LISC Charlotte, announced a launch of a second affordable housing fund to support both new construction and existing housing developments in the area. The fund plans to work closely with the City of Charlotte to increase both the quality and the quantity of affordable options at a time when the housing gap continues to widen in the area. We have several reports and resources for you, as well as events that I'll highlight. The Federal Housing Finance Agency released their annual housing report for 2023. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition released a state and local investments in rental housing, a summary of findings from their 2023 rental housing programs database. We mentioned this briefly the other week, but if you notice that your municipality or community is not on here, and you know that your community has rental housing programs or a program or fund that is not representative, please reach out. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition staff are awesome, or let us know how we can connect you with them, because I know that they'll want to make sure to represent everyone as best as possible. The Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies also released a report talking about learning from various state efforts to encourage accessory dwelling units. This has been a key point of both contention, but also promise for North Carolina, as several communities have been considering or changing their ordinances to allow or facilitate the easier development of accessory dwelling units. UNC Charlotte's Klein Center for Real Estate released their 2023 State of Housing in Charlotte report. And then the City of Raleigh, one of our award winners this year at our conference, released a Affordable Housing 101 video series, What is Affordable Housing? So if you're a nerd like me and you really enjoy resources that are accessible, that are easy to understand, and that do a great job of breaking down an issue as complex as affordable housing, make sure to check out that video series. Moving to events, there are just a few. Housing Solutions Lab, beginning on November 16th from 12 to 12:45, is beginning a series called Data Talks, and the first one is a webinar series on local housing data. Again, for folks either interested in housing data, or if you're already a nerd like myself and you love learning a bit about housing data and the different ways that we use it or are able to use it, please check this out. Housing Solutions Lab does a lot of great work. Also November 16th, so if you want another option for that day, the Food Research and Action Center at 12 p.m. is hosting a virtual webinar titled Fighting Hunger with Housing, Actions and Updates for Advocates. We've been seeing a lot of intersectional events and webinars and resources being published, which is awesome, just reminding us that housing is not a siloed issue. And the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies on November 17th will be hosting their State of Housing Design 2023 from 2 to 6 p.m. They do have a virtual component, so we'll make sure the links for that event as well as the others that I've mentioned are included in the call notes for you. A few pieces in the news, also a little depressing. I guess it's that time of year where a lot of the summary reports start coming out. CNN Business puts out a piece called "This is the least affordable housing market since 1984, and it's getting worse." In the Charlotte Observer, there was an observed 10% spike in the median home price in Charlotte, and it talks a bit about how it's squeezing families throughout the area. Another piece by WUNC talks about TDA's promotion machine and how it contributes to an influx of transplants, which also contributes to rising housing costs. Obviously not the only factor that does so, but an interesting look at how in-migration does that. That's all we have for you this week. Please remember to send us your stories or send us your reflections on how a federal shutdown would impact your work, or how it has impacted your work in the past. We would really love to be able to showcase that and share it with elected officials so that they understand how really dire the situation is and how important the work that you all do is to our communities across the state. Thank you so much, y'all, and we'll talk to you next time, and see you then.